and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, channel that brings you all your latest Rangers news. Right, we're going to talk today about a couple of things. We're going to talk about how Rangers now must have a focus, sole focus almost, on the Europa League, with the domestic season pretty much over and done with. I mean, let's face it, Celtic won the league, Celtic won the cups, it's over. So the focus has to be on that Europa League, and we're going to look at that Europa League squad. We're going to look at the teams remaining in the Europa League, and we're going to look at Rangers' possibilities within that competition. We're also going to talk about a player who's going through a Sam Lammers-esque revival elsewhere. Now, Sam Lammers, a player that never ever really lived up to his potential at Rangers, did he? He always kind of, was just not very good. But then he went back to the Eredivisie and suddenly became a different player, looking like, some sort of Marco van Basten reincarnated. Well, perhaps not that good, but you know what I mean. We're going to look at Kieran Dowell, who is having a revival for Birmingham City. We're going to look at also what some Birmingham City fans have been saying about him, and it's pretty good, to be honest with you. But let's start off with talking this bit about the Europa League and the Europa League squad going forward. Look, I think we can all, barring the eternal optimists, the eternal, delusionists, whatever you want to call them, can admit that the league is over. 13 points, it's done. They're not going to lose 5 games between now and the end of the season. It just ain't going to happen. As much as we might will it, as much as we might pray for it, as much as we might, beg for it, it's not going to happen, is it? Realistically. So, realistically, league's done. We're out of the Scottish Cup after that miserable performance on Sunday. The Scottish League Cup, we've already lost that. So, like I said, it's February the 11th today, and the domestic season is over. So the target has to be to work on and to look at is the Europa League. Now, Rangers did exceptionally well in the Europa League, and this is perhaps somewhere we can give Phil Clement some credit. The Europa League is a campaign that has gone so well, and I think if you were to sit someone down who'd never seen Rangers play before and show them a video of our Europa League games, and then show them a video of our domestic games, they would almost be inclined as to say that ain't the same team. It can't be the same team, because how can it play that well and do that well against some of the better teams in Europe, yet can't beat some of the dreadful teams in Scotland? It just makes zero sense. And whoever you want to blame for that, we'll talk about that another day. But the focus has to be on that Europa League now. That was where the sole focus has to be. And the first focus obviously has to be on progressing beyond the last 16 round, which will then take us to the quarterfinals. Once you're in the quarterfinals, it's last 8. It's anyone can take it from there. Get to semi-final, get to a final. I'm not saying Rangers will, but I'm saying it's a possibility. It's a chance. Look, yes, we are not a good team at this moment in time. Domestically, we are poor. Domestically, we are just genuinely dreadful. But look, as bad as it is domestically, you can kind of go back to European competition and look at some of the performances in Europe and look at some of the games in Europe. Tottenham game, yes, it was a 1-1 draw, but a game we should have easily won. I'm not going to talk about the Man United game because I'm not going to celebrate a defeat. That's not what we do here. Olympiacos away, a fantastic draw in a place where English Premier League teams have gone and been beaten. Aston Villa went there last season and got beaten, a team that then qualified for the Champions League. So look, at the end of the day, that's not Piraeus is not an easy place to go. We went to Malmo, got the victory. We went to Nice, took them apart. Lyon, yes, okay, that was a bit of a bad one. FCSB, we took apart. At Ibrox, Union Saint-Gilloise, we beat, not convincingly, but we beat them. So, European-wise, we're doing quite well. We've done quite well. And, look, we can't criticise the performances in Europe. The European performances have been excellent. They really have been absolutely fantastic. So, this is something we've kind of got to celebrate. This is... look, we haven't got much to celebrate this year, have we? We haven't got much to kind of look back on and go, yeah, that was great, wasn't it? We've done really well, and there's not a great deal that we can celebrate, in terms of wins and successful days for Rangers this season. There hasn't been many, so the Europa League is kind of the one we can look at and the one we can say we've done great. We've done really, really well. Now, let's look at the squad. Then we'll look a little bit what history tells us about the Europa League. And then I want to look at the teams who are left in the Europa League and kind of evaluate that and look at, where we are in terms of that Europa League. So, The Europa League squad, Jack Butland, Liam Kelly, Lewis Bowdenakis, obviously Mason Munn is in that squad as well. Now, obviously the likes of Bailey Rice, Paul Uncio, etc., are included in this squad because of the fact they are homegrown. They don't need to be put into the A list. They put into what's called a B list and are included anyway. So, we can kind of remember that Bailey Rice can play, Finley Curtis can play, Paul Uncio can play, and so on and so forth. So those players can come in and can play. It's just they don't have to be included on the A-list squad list. The defenders, James Tavernier, Ridvan Yilmaz, Robin Proper, John Suter, Dujon Sterling, Leon Balogun and Clinton Nsiala. Now, obviously, adding in Nsiala is a big, big boost. Nsiala has been one of the bright spots of this season. There has not been a great deal of bright spots to this season, of course, but Nsiala has been one of those bright spots. After we were told at the start of the season that we wouldn't see Nsiala this season, he's more a next season kind of player. He's looking great. He's looking good. I think him and Suter are our best defensive partnership. They have a natural balance, right foot, left foot. Nsiala is the creative one, the passer, the mover of the ball. Suter is the put your body on the line, throw yourself in where the ball gets stuck in, win the ball in the air kind of guy. That's his job. Suter, in my opinion, best centre-back in the Scottish League. Don't even come at me with Cameron Carhorse-Vickers, not even in the same class as John Suter. Leon Balogun, top replacement when he stays fit. Dujon Sterling, top right back when he stays fit. Proper has looked good in Europe. As bad as he's looked in Scotland, he's looked all right in Europe because what Proper benefits from is time on the ball, and that's what you get more of in Europe than you do in Scotland. It's not a million miles an hour. It's not in your face. It's not the physicality of the Scottish League, so he benefits from that. Yes, Hiefte hasn't been great, but Ridvan Yilmaz has been pretty good at left back, so I think he's definitely probably would be in our strongest back four. I mean, for me, if you took the strongest back four from that list, I would say it's Sterling, it's Suter, it's Nsiala, and it's Ridvan when everybody is fit. Obviously, this is Rangers. Very rarely is everybody fit. Midfielders, we've got Conor Barron, Mohamed Diamonde, Nadim Bayrami, Nicholas Raskin and Yanis Hadji. Obviously, the big boost there is Yanis Hadji back in the squad. I mean, that is the biggest boost. And, I got an absolute shoe-in for giving Yanis some prop, praising Yanis on Sunday for his effort and his trying and how hard he at least tried on Sunday. You've got people telling me that Yanis was shite on Sunday. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. I don't get some of the hate there is for Yanis Hadji from some of our supporter base. I don't understand it at all. But in there you've got a pretty decent midfield three for Europe. Let's get this right. Look, I know Diamonde perhaps in Scotland isn't as good, but in Europe he looks good because he gets more time on the ball. He gets more. He gets less physical, etc. So Raskin, Diamonde, and Hadji. That's a pretty decent midfield three. If you use Hadji as the 10. Don't use Bayrami as the 10. Bayrami is just shocking. I don't rate Bayrami at all. And you've got Dessers, Lawrence, Cheney, Hamza Igaman and Danilo. Now, obviously, the issue there is Oscar Cortez taken out of the squad. Why is taken out of the squad? Because he's always bloody injured. So, that's the way it is. So you've got, a front three there. They're probably the strongest front three there. You've got Cheney, Hamza and Danilo as your front three. Best front three in Europe, best front three in Scotland, the best front three we've got. I mean, I'm not saying they're the best front three in Scotland, obviously. I'm saying they're the best Rangers front three. Before anybody comes back at me with Kuhn and Jota and other players and Shankland and blah and Dolby and so on and so forth. So look, Hamza on form is good. Hamza hasn't been great the last few games, but I think that's down to the manager. I think the manager's destroyed his confidence by putting him on the left wing so he could put his mate Dessers through the middle. For me, not a great move. You play Hamza through the middle. Hamza's the best striker at the club. He's 10 times better than anything we've got. The guy is a talent. He is a talent. You can see from his touch, his control, his movement, his ability to create chances and fashion chances. He's the best striker we've got. So, strongest 11 you've probably got there. And I know he gets criticised a lot this season. Butland in goal, Sterling, Suter, Nsiala, and Ridvan. Midfield three, Diamonde, Raskin, and Hadji. And front three, for me, Cheney, Hamza, and Danilo. That would be it. Now, Danilo, like I said, he can play left, he can play right, he can play 10, he can drift. That's one thing about Danilo. He's not going to get lost if he has to go out wide or he has to drift in behind. That's not how he's going. That's not him at all. The other beauty of that, I think, is with Hadji and Danilo, you get some fluidity there. Hadji can go to the left wing, Danilo can drift into the 10, Cheney can drift into the centre, can drift out wide, can do a number of things. It gives you flexibility, fluidity, which makes it more difficult to play against. So for me, positive there. So that's the squad. The squad looks better. I mean, it would look better if Oscar Cortez was fit, obviously, and was playing and was performing. You've also got the likes of Bailey Rice, Finlay Curtis, etc., coming, which gives a little bit of strength. Now, I know a lot of this is dependent on Rangers keeping players fit, which, as we all know, is about as likely as us winning the lottery. 40 million to 1, I think the odds are of winning the UK lottery. So it's similar, I think, for Rangers keeping everybody fit. I don't know why, I don't know how, I just know it's cursed. So that's the squad, and I think the squad looks better now going into the knockout stages. I think coming out of the group stage, and saying we did so well in the group stage without our strongest squad, I think that's testimony to the lads. The fact that there was no Hadji, there was no Nsiala, there was no Danilo in that group stage, that's a big miss for me, and having them back is a big lift for me. So that's a positive. That's a positive that we've got to take going forward in the Europa League. Now, who's left in the Europa League? I mean, that's the big question for me, is what is left in the Europa League? Where does the challenge come from? What is the situation with that? So, obviously some of it is going to be down to who goes through. That's the big one. So if we look at who we know is definitely through, okay, who we know is definitely through. So Lazio, definitely through, won the league phase, okay. Athletic Club in second, Man United in third, Tottenham in fourth, Eintracht Frankfurt in fifth, Lyon in sixth, Olympiacos in seventh, Rangers in eighth. Right, so they're the top 8, okay. So let's go through that top 8 first of all. After that top 8, we'll look at the fixtures, and then we'll evaluate who we think may go through from that 8 and come up with a bit of a list of what it would look like in this next round. Okay, so let's do this. So the top 8, Lazio, they're a strong team. They're a good team. They're an Italian team. They're going to be tough to beat. They are a quality side. So Lazio, you're going to put as being a threat to win this competition. Okay. Athletic Club, you're also going to put as a threat to win this competition. Athletic Club have some of the best young players in the Spanish squad. There's some really good talent in that Athletic Club side. So, for me, a threat. Right, Man United, for me, not a threat. Why? Because they're awful this season. They're piss poor. I mean, you've only got to look at them in the English league. They're losing to Crystal Palace. They're struggling to beat some of the teams in the lower half of the English Premier League. The English Premier League is the toughest league in world football. It is the hardest league to play in. They are struggling massively in that English Premier League. You look at who Man United have beaten in recent times in the Europa League. Yes, I know they beat us 2-1, but they were lucky. You've got a situation there, I think, where they go to FCSB in the last round, they win, which is not hard to beat FCSB as we proved. So for me, you look at that, and I don't rate Man United. I genuinely do not see Man United as Europa League winners. I can't see it. I just can't see it. Spurs in fourth. Again, look, I don't rate Spurs. I genuinely don't rate them. They are full of injuries. And I know at some point that's got to come right, that they've got to start to get players back. But at the moment, they're full of injuries. I think Big Ange has proven when he was with Celtic that he is awful in Europe. He's inflexible in his formations. He plays the high line. There's a way to get him behind them. We should have beaten them. For me, Spurs are not a threat. Eintracht Frankfurt are a good side. And obviously they're the team that beat us in the Europa League final. So you're going to put them on the positive list. They've got a chance. They've got a chance. Lyon are a very good side. We saw that at Ibrox this season. They were a pretty decent side. Olympiacos. Look, that is a team that we went to Piraeus. We got the draw. We got the draw out there. I fancy us to do them at Ibrox. A night under the European night under the lights at Ibrox. The crowd is rocking. The 12th man is there. Every chance. So out of those 8 teams, I would say there are 4 to worry about. Lazio, Bilbao, Frankfurt and Lyon. Okay, so that leaves just 4 to worry about. Okay, so let's go on to the game, shall we, of what is to come. Now, I know that there is no exact science to predicting games because I know, in football, anything can happen. Who would have expected Plymouth to beat Liverpool? Who would have expected Queen's Park to beat Rangers? Who would have expected all those years ago Hereford to beat Newcastle? Who would have expected Sutton to beat the cup holders Tottenham back in the day and to beat Coventry as well? I know, was it Hereford? I can't remember. Someone beat them anyway. So there you go. Right, so USG v Ajax. You've got to fancy Ajax to come through from that tie. Ajax are a good side this year. Farioli's got them playing some good football. They're doing well in the Dutch league. They're a good side. Midland versus Sociedad. Again, you've got to fancy the Spanish side to come through that. Sociedad have got some good players. They've hung on to the likes of Martin Zubamendi. So for me, they come through. Ferencváros v Victoria Plitzen. you know what? I don't really care who comes out that tie. They're both equally as shit as each other. I don't rate either of them. Let's just say Ferencvaros for argument's sake. From that one, Fenerbahce Anderlecht. I think Fenerbahce, given the fact they've got Mourinho, will have the know-how to get through that one. PAOK versus FCSB. Again, don't rate either of them. Don't think either of them are great. Think the Greeks will just shade it. Alkmaar Galatasaray. This for me is a tough one to predict. You never know with this how it's going to turn out. The second leg obviously been in Turkey, Gala, that stadium. It's welcome to hell, all that sort of thing. I think Gala probably will progress from that tie. Porto Roma, which is arguably the tie of that round. Two teams that are fantastic football teams. You've got to say Roma. I should say comes through from that one. Twente versus Bodo. I think Twente probably come through from that tie. So you then look at that list of teams that have come through that stage. Okay, so you look at the fact that out of that, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that have emerged from that. So who qualifies from that? Who comes through? So who's a threat from that? Well, Ajax I would put on that list as a threat. Sociedad I think are a decent side as well. You can never write off a Jose Mourinho team in a European competition, and Roma. Okay, so for me there's 8 teams. Okay, so you've got 8 teams, probably the favourites to go to the quarterfinals, even over us. You've got Lyon, Ajax, Sociedad, Fenerbahce, Roma. Okay, like I said, I don't rate many of the other ones there. So look, that's the threat. That's where the threats come from. That's where the threats are at. Lazio, Athletic Bilbao, Frankfurt, Lyon, Ajax, Sociedad, Fenerbahce and Roma. That's if the ties go as I said they were going to go. And that's me trying to predict. I mean, you know what? If that comes off, if all 8 of those results come off and I haven't put any money on it, I'm going to be absolutely spitting on it. So you look at Rangers in Europe, you look at our results in Europe, you look at our track record in Europe, and yes, look, Lazio, I'd worry about playing Lazio. I'd worry about playing Bilbao, at any stage, because going to the Basque Country, going to Bilbao, their ground is just as hostile as Ibrox. It is a very scary atmosphere at their ground. So, there you go. Frankfurt, look, they're good, unbeatable. No, not Ibrox. Lyon, yeah, okay, they've already beaten us at Ibrox. Let's write them off. Ajax, decent team. Sociedad, Sociedad are hit and miss this season. They're not a fantastic team this season. Fenerbahce, I'd love to beat Mourinho. I'd love to shut him up. I can't stand him. I really genuinely can't stand him. I used to respect him, but now I can't fucking stand him. Roma, again, decent teams. So there's some tough teams in that competition. Now, Can I just take you back? Can I just take you back? Right, I want to just take you back to the year 2021-2022 when we went all the way to the final. Okay, we did, didn't we? We went all the way to the final, right? So who did we play? Who did we play in the knockout phases? Let's have a little look, shall we, at the knockout phases. So first up, we went to Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund Rangers. Everybody says Rangers are going to get their asses handed to them. Rangers are going to get tanned. Rangers are going to get smashed by a very good Borussia Dortmund team. Okay, that was a fact. That was what everyone was saying. But we beat them. We went to the Westfalenstadion, 1-4-2, in front of the yellow wall. That is a difficult ground to go to. A really difficult ground to go to, isn't it? Westfalenstadion. Not an easy place to play. We went there and we won. Now, I know these are different players. I get that. And I know that squad in 21-22 had some brilliant players in it. Ryan Kent, Alfie Morelos, so on and so forth. James Tavernier was actually playing well at that point in his career. Younger player, of course. So, there we go. Next round, we beat Red Star Belgrade. Decent side. Quarterfinals, we beat Braga. A fantastic comeback after extra time to win that one. Again, Braga, decent team. We then beat Leipzig in the semis and obviously came up short against Frankfurt. So, we've proven, I think, in the past, and this is me trying to be the ultra optimistic on here, is that we can go pretty much, in Europe, we can pretty much give anybody a game in Europe. And if we can bring them back to Ibrox within shooting distance, within target distance, there is the chance there to take them. We know that. Now, look, am I saying that we're going to win the Europa League? No, I'm not. If anyone calls me delusional or deluded or anything, I get hammered either way. If I sit here and I slag Rangers off, I get called a pessimist, I get called negative, I get called all the names under the sun. You should have seen some of the abuse I was getting last night. Hilarious. Some absolute prats out there, to quote Mark Goldbridge. And I stand by what I said in that post. I genuinely can't give a fuck what they think. I'm going I'm taking a leaf out of Mark Goldbridge's book. At the end of the day, I don't care. You don't like what I say? I just don't give a fuck. You don't like what I say? There's the fucking door. Use it. Use the door. I don't ask you to watch the videos. Okay. You don't want to watch. You don't agree with my opinion. Fuck off. Don't care. Right. Okay. So, unprofessional apparently. Have I ever said I was professional? Do I work for anyone? Do I work for Sky fucking Sports? Of course I don't. Or Premier Sports. Don't be stupid. No fan media is professional. We're all amateurs doing this. I mean, it's just a stupid comment from an absolute prat of a human being. But yeah, so look, I'm not saying we're going to win the Europa League. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to look at an optimistic side of this, that this is where we need to focus our attentions going forward now to the end of the season. Realistically, we're not going to win the Europa League. Of course we're not going to win the Europa League. There's some bloody good teams there. Lazio, Bilbao, Ajax, Lyon. There's some strong teams with teams that are worth vast sums of money, that have spent vast... I sound like Philippe Clement now, aren't I? Checkbook management, and all that. But we've proven in the past in Europe that we can go toe-to-toe with most people, and that it brings out the best of Rangers. Now, I'm not saying that this squad are anywhere near as good as the squad that Gio took to that final. I'm not saying, of course, that Clement is anywhere in the same credit as good a manager as Gio was. I don't think he was. I think Gio is a better manager than Clement. But we have that opportunity. There is enough talent within that squad. As I've just said, I've gone through the strongest of lineups. We have... And I do not buy into this philosophy that a number of fans have, that all our players are crap. I would say, you go through that squad. John Suter, one of the best centre-backs in the Scottish League. Clinton Nsiala, talented, up-and-coming, quality young player. Ridvan, Turkish international, good footballer. In demand. Nicholas Raskin, good footballer. Yanis Hadji. Yanis Hadji was one of the best players of the Euros, for God's sake. Hamza Igerman, a player in demand in England, a good footballer. Václav Černý, a guy who's probably going to move to an English club or to one of the top Spanish clubs for £10-12 million in the summer. Okay, Danilo, he's a £6 million centre forward. He's played for Feyenoord. He's played for Ajax. You do not play for Feyenoord and Ajax if you are a duffer. So look, there's some good players in that squad. It's just that they're not perhaps always motivated or organised or put out to do the right thing by the manager. I think if you gave this squad to Gerrard or to Gio, you'd see them playing and performing a whole lot better. I'll be honest with you, I think if you gave this squad to Derek McInnes, you'd see them performing a whole lot better than they currently do under Clement, but that's for another day. So, we've proven in the past that we can go anywhere in Europe and we can get a result. Westfalenstadion, Belgrade, wherever. Look, so there has got to be a cause for optimism. And for me, it's almost like you write off any more league games. You kind of just say, well, we're not going to always play our strongest team in the league. We can play youngsters, we can play some of the B team players, whatever. Because the focus has to... We're not going to finish second, because the rest of the league is so bad. So bad, because they beat each other. We see Dundee United will lose to Dundee, they'll lose to Hearts, they'll fall away in third. Aberdeen will come back up, then they'll fall away again. So there's not really a consistent challenge there for second. So realistically, even if you then rotate the squad, play some of the weaker players, some of the other players, if you played the likes of some of the less talented players like Dessers and Fernandez and Jeff Tay and Lawrence in the league, for me, you're still going to get enough points to get second place, which is then they get you into Champions League qualifying, which is the main thing we need from this season. Now that the league's over with, but for me, the focus has to be on making sure we have a fully fit, raring to go squad for the Europa League. Now that has to be our sole focus, getting as far in that as possible to increase the amount of prize money we get to obviously benefit the club for the summer transfer window. That's got to be the target now. It's got to be the target now. That's where we're at. It's got to be focused Europa League. That's what it's got to be going forward. We're not, like I said, we haven't had much to celebrate this season. It's been a pretty shockingly bad season that's left us all feeling pretty awful about being Rangers fans at the moment. But the Europa League is the one shining example that gives us something to be optimistic about. That night in Nice, for example, the 4-1, the win in Malmo, the game against Tottenham, those games where we played really well and we actually felt encouraged where we were going as a club. So that's what we've got to hang on to going forward. Europa League, sole focus. Right, let's finish off today by talking about the Kieran Dowell revival show, which is underway at Birmingham City. Yeah, apparently Kieran Dowell is looking like a footballer. And I know this is going to come as a complete and utter shock to a number of you, given how bad he was when he was at Rangers. Now, when he was at Rangers, he was used in a variety of different positions. He was used out wide, he was used as an 8, he was used as a 6, he was used as a 10, he was used in a number of different positions. And, one of the things that I think, really did kind of hold Kieran Dowell back in terms of what he did at Rangers was the injuries. He was injured a lot. He missed an awful lot of game time, didn't he? So his career never, ever got going at Rangers. He never took off. And, he was criticised, and rightly so, because when he did play, he never really did anything. He was kind of what was he there for? However, he's gone down to Birmingham. And Birmingham are playing him as a 10. They're playing Birmingham play a 4-2-3-1. He's playing as the 10 behind their main striker. And he's looking absolutely top class, apparently. This is what I'm hearing from Birmingham fans. I've got some mates who are Birmingham fans, and they're all saying, what are you on? What were you talking about? Kieran Dowell's crap. Kieran Dowell's awful. Good luck with him. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And to be fair, he has actually played really well for Birmingham. He really has. He's the third Rangers player to get to Birmingham. Birmingham looks like sort of Rangers 2.0. It really does, like Rangers West Midlands. The West Midlands Rangers are the Birmingham Rangers with Ben Davies and Scott Wright. I mean, the other day they had Scott Wright on the right, Dowell as a 10, and Ben Davies at centre back. And to be fair, Wright and Davies are actually looking like players down there. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy times. He made his debut from the bench in a 1-0 win over Huddersfield and helped create the goal. He played last night against Cambridge. They won 3-0. He scored an absolutely superb goal by all accounts. This was a goal to put Birmingham 3-0 up before half-time. It's still already... Yes, it's still early days, and he probably might get injured and fall away. You never know with Kieran Dowell, do you? But Birmingham fans are already demanding the club sign him on a permanent basis, which is good for us if we don't want to keep him. That's probably the fact we don't want to keep him. We're going to get some money for him, hopefully. And these are some comments that I'm reading down here in the Midlands. As I live in the Midlands, I don't live far from Birmingham. This is what some of the Birmingham fans have said about Kieran Dowell. Is it just me, or is Kieran Dowell brilliant? That's a genuine quote from a Birmingham City fan. Another Birmingham City fan. Rangers, what are you guys smoking? Kieran Dowell, sign him up. Clearly insinuating we don't know what we're doing with players, which there is some validity that our recruitment is pretty awful. Someone else added, he's some player. Fourth also said, animal, get him permanently. Some of the comments about Dowell are credible. Another Birmingham fan said, any other players Rangers don't want, we'll quite happily have them. And someone else commented, Rangers, keep them coming, lads. So, it's quite clear they're happy with our cast-off. They're happy with Scott Wright. They're happy with Ben Davies. And they're very clearly happy with Kieran Dowell, like I said, who is undergoing somewhat of a revival down in Birmingham City. Is this another Sam Lammers? Is perhaps Dowell more at home in England? Perhaps does he cope more with England? Perhaps he couldn't handle the pressure of playing for Rangers? I don't know what it is. But you know what? I don't wish the lad any ill will. I wish him all the very best. I hope he has a very successful career. I hope he goes on to be a top player for Birmingham City. I hope he helps Birmingham get promoted. I've got nothing against Birmingham City. Cracking little team. Great fans. I've got a good few mates who are Birmingham fans. Great lads. I wish them all the best, really do. And if Kieran Dowell and Scott Wright and Ben Davies are part of that and they all do really well, fair play to them. Like I said, no ill will to those guys whatsoever. Wish them all the very best for the future with Birmingham City. Right, guys, look, that is where we're at. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know your views on this topic. Please obviously drop me a comment. Keep it constructive. If you've just found the channel, remember we are a free Rangers news channel. We don't charge you for content. We don't hide content behind paywalls. We don't ask you for £2.50 a month to watch the content. All we ask you to do is to view the channel. If you want to become a member, it's 99p. Become a member. If you do want to help the channel, super thanks button down below. Just donate a bit of cash. Goes towards helping the channel to grow. Thanks for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. On the way out, like I said, those jobs. Sub, share, comment, like. That's all we need from you. That's all we ask from you. Like I said, we don't ask £2.50 from you, £4 from you, whatever. That's all we ask. And the one other thing we ask, which is not a big thing, it's the thing we always do. Remember always, we are the people.